program. I'm Connie Bryan, and you're watching The Connie Bryan Show. Well, you know, with this Trump idiocracy we find ourselves living in today, here's what I want to know. Who the hell are these people in New York and LA who are responsible for television programming today? These morons. And clearly that's what they think of us. Do you guys remember must-see TV? You know, Seinfeld, Friends, more recently The Sopranos, Breaking Bad? Listen, must-see TV is a thing of the past. It's clearly been replaced by an entirely new motto: must have a fucking trailer and KY jelly TV. It's clearly been replaced by must masturbate TV. Yeah, because you probably are sitting in your double wide, you know, on your couch with the plastic protector on it with your KY in one hand and the remote control in the other, flipping around going, what the hell? The 12th season of the Kardashians? Click, what's this? South Carolina swinging single moms? Click, Alabama antique ass picking. Click, Swamp Pond stars. You gotta be kidding me. Click, Shark Week. Oh my God, I'm just gonna play with myself along with Anderson Cooper on CNN. Speaking of Shark Week, who are you people, huh? Who are you people who can't wait every year for Shark Week to come out on the Discovery Channel? And they're nothing but, you know, fake documentaries. They're like more like reality shows. They start them off with this stuff like, we shot this shark documentary because we're trying to help people understand the shark. Are you kidding me? You gotta be dumb as a box of rice. You gotta be dumb as a Trump supporter not to understand sharks. So I'd like to do my impersonation for you now of a great white shark if he had the personality of one of my favorite comedians, Chris Rock. You got to be freaking kidding me. All you people out there with your Netflix and your cable and your satellite dish on demand, there's no excuse. You have to have seen the movie Jaws, but you're still watching shark documentaries trying to understand us? That's like all you women out there who've been over by all the men who told you they loved you, slept with you, and they never wanted to cuddle afterward, and you never heard from them again, yet you're still reading cosmopolitan magazines trying to understand men. Listen, ladies, there's only one thing you need to know to understand men. Men want to fuck everything. Everything that moves, they want to fuck it. Same with sharks, except we want to eat everything. Everything that moves, we want to eat it. Still don't understand? Okay, let me put it another way. How would you react if you woke up in the middle of the night to find some stranger splashing around in your bathtub? You'd grab your Glock 9, and he'd be lucky if he survived the experience. So I want you to picture a great white shark gang member with a Glock 9 up to your head, and here's the one thing he wants you to understand. Get the f*** out of my bathtub, bitch! You are not the top of the food chain in the f***ing ocean. This is my house. You need to know your place, and that's at Starbucks on the internet with a f***ing mocha latte in your hand. Trying to understand shark. You gotta be dumb as Kanye West not to understand. Actually, I take that back. Even Kanye ain't that stupid, because ever since the movie Jaws, black people had all the research and understanding they ever needed to know better than to bring their butt into the f***ing ocean. Just like after the movie Poltergeist and The Exorcist, black people never needed a f***ing ghost documentary to know better than to keep their ass out of even the haunted mansion at Disney World. I want to come on and do a screen test. Yeah, let me just see how I look here in the frame. Okay, I think I need a little more makeup. Yeah, give me some more eyeliner. Spoof my hair just a little more. Okay, that's good. La 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 la, Elmo's world. La 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 la, Elmo's world. Hi kids. Guess what Elmo's thinking about today? Impeachment. Now I assume you all remember from watching our show in the past that A is for apple. But did you know that the letter A is also for the president? That's because A is for asshole in chief. Ha 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 ha. A is also for articles of impeachment. Impeachment is just a big fancy word for not letting someone be our president anymore, precisely because he's such an asshole. Ha 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 ha. Basically, kids, Special Prosecutor Mueller says in his 4 zillion page report that he didn't charge President Trump with criminal obstruction on over 10 counts, where he detailed the evidence only because of the Justice Department's policy of not indicting a sitting president. If you're like me, Elmo, you're probably wondering, well, if he couldn't indict Trump when he was a sitting president, why couldn't he just wait till he stood up and then he'd be a standing president? Ha 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 ha. Good question, kids. I will have to ask and get back to you on the next episode. Now, let's move on to the letter B. B is for Bill Barr's bullshit. Ha 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 ha. And B is also for bitch. Kids, you need to know that Bill Barr lied to all of us. Lying is bad. Bill Barr lied to all of us when Mueller released his report, and he told all of us that the report exonerated the president. But Mueller actually wrote in his report that it did not exonerate the president. So can you say Bill Barr is Trump's bitch? Ha 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 ha. Very good, kids. Now let's look at the letter C. C is for coordination. Can you say coordination with the Russians? Bob Mueller's report, hard as it is to read, describes in graphic detail many members of Trump's campaign who actively coordinated with many Russians who were known to be connected to Russian President Vladimir Putin. C is also for helping us spell the word collusion. Mueller's report details a lot of collusion between Trump and Russia for the purpose of helping him get elected while he was lying to all of us that he did not have any business connections with Russia. But kids, you need to know that Mueller's report describes how all through the campaign, Trump was lying about that and covering up his ongoing effort to build a Trump Tower in Moscow, in which he offered Vladimir Putin a gift of $50 million penthouse at the top of the tower. C also stands for the word corrupt. Can you say corrupt, lying piece of shit? Ha 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 ha. Very good. And the letter C can also be used to help us spell the word con artist. Can you say con artist who has to be impeached? C is also the first letter of the word, the question that all good Americans are asking. Can you imagine? Do you like to imagine, kids? Well, can you imagine how Republicans would act if Obama had been even half this corrupt and dishonest as Trump? Okay, very good. That's enough for today's ABCs, kids, but make sure you tune in tomorrow when we'll skip ahead to the big letter H, which helps us to spell the word the whole wide world is using now to describe the Republican Party. Hypocrites! Ha 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 ha! Ha ha! La 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 la! Elmo world! La 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 la! Thanks for staying with us. I'm Connie Bryan, and you're watching The Connie Bryan Show. And I'm excited because I have a returning guest with me here in the studio. This is Alex Silva-Satter back with us.
Hi, Connie.
It's been a while, but it's wonderful having you. You are the programming manager for Davis Media Access.
Yes, programming manager and workshop manager.
One of our
television
affiliate
programming, not computer programming.
Yes.
So.
And so it's so great to have you back. We're going to talk about the Mueller testimony. Of course, that's what we're going to focus on. They said it was supposed to be the movie. I got so tired of hearing that all over the media. It's going to be the movie of the book, of Mueller's book, right?
Yeah.
And
movies are usually more exciting.
Exactly. You can't really say this was a 4-star. I think you told me off camera, Oscar. It's not going to be
Wasn't
nominated for an Oscar.
No, it was very flat.
You know what we needed? Who we needed to produce this Mueller movie would have been Michael Moore.
Yeah.
He knows how
to inject some drama in there.
He could have gotten Mueller to make the right comments. You know, he would have been in there with some cue cards and things to.
Or a microphone in his face.
Yeah, microphone.
Tell us now.
But that said, even though it was a boring, non-Michael Moore type movie, you needed to have watched it, especially under Schiff's testimony. At the top, I just want to tell everybody, if you haven't seen it, you didn't watch it, really need to just go and Google on actually I'd say YouTube, Schiff, Adam Schiff. Just watch Adam Schiff, the Intel chairman, his initial at the beginning of those proceedings in the Intel committee. And you'll see everything you really need to see. Adam Schiff really gets answers out of Mueller that were damning, just showing the need for impeachment in such a huge way. What were some of your reactions when you?
We hear all about the report and it's redacted and this and that, but they were quoting directly from it, stripping away everything and just saying, look, here is a case of obstruction. What are the 3 things that we need to meet obstruction? A, he did this, please quote from page so-and-so and all that. And what is what they call the nexus of an actual investigation? That somehow it relates to something official. And then they would show that. And then the last thing, of course, was the intent.
That it met all the elements?
It met all the elements. And they went through several examples of that in the course of the testimony. Different individuals, including Schiff, would each take sort of one of the cases of obstruction and show how it was obstruction. And of course, they mentioned the letter. Other prosecutors have felt similarly about
roughly 1,000 former federal prosecutors. I'm not sure if there were any current ones. Seems like I remember.
I think a current prosecutor would have to recuse themselves because
So can you believe that that letter that you're talking about? 1,000 former federal prosecutors all signed a letter saying lying is bad. There is unequivocally no doubt we would indict this individual if they weren't the sitting president for more than one obstruction count, you know.
Right.
And then I just want to say at the top of our discussion on this, a lot of people who didn't read the Mueller report wouldn't be aware of this. So I want to read this one paragraph, just one paragraph that is so damning and shows the mindset of Mueller, what he intended from his report in one paragraph, and it's in the second part under obstruction. His part 2 of his report was dealing with obstruction.
Volume 2 is obstruction.
Yeah, and it's early on in that he says, Mueller writes, the conclusion that Congress may apply obstruction laws, get ready for this, to the president's corrupt exercise of the powers of office. The conclusion that Congress may apply obstruction laws to the president's corrupt exercise of the powers of office accords with our constitutional system of checks and balances and the principle that no person is above the law. Does it get any more clear of what his intention was than that?
I think not. But, of course, they've been trying to obscure that. Some of the
hypocrites.
Yeah.
The big letter H, which helps us to spell the word the whole wide world is using now to describe the Republican Party. Hypocrites. Because that's the word that keeps coming up. What the fuck is wrong with you people out there? You Republicans who are supporting this guy. What the fuck is wrong with you? God dang it! And I don't. The thing that frustrates a lot of us in watching Mueller is he's from the old. I don't know. He's just from another era, and he's
been around.
He's trying to be a little too. First of all, he expected that Americans were going to read this arcane style of writing. It's very difficult to read his report. You know, it's very legalistic.
Very legalistic, and that's a very specialized kind of writing.
Yeah, and I had to wade through to be able to see things like what I just shared with everybody. Mm-hmm. But he makes it clear. He says in his report. Okay, one other point I really want to make that we're seeing that the media is really dropping the ball is they're tending to put up this graphic. Mueller was unable to determine the president committed a crime, and that's wrong. That is
completely wrong, and they're dropping the ball by not adding on to that. What that involves is, that was Mueller's statement, but he said there was more to that.
Yeah.
He said the reason we didn't make a determination. Please, everybody, follow me. I know it can be, you can start to zone out. Follow me. This is really important. Mueller makes it a point in his report multiple times. He says the reason we didn't indict the president was because of the Department of Justice's policy right now, and it's talk about an effed up policy to have a policy like this, that you can't hold a president accountable and indict them. But that's the policy that they're working under, that he felt hamstrung by, and he put that in his report. So if you'll go and read the report, you're going to find multiple times where he talks about this. I could take the time to read the quote to you, but trust me. He says it multiple times. We didn't indict this president. And then he lists, like you said a few minutes ago, all the obstruction things he lists. There's like 10.
In volume 2 was all about the acts of obstruction of the investigation.
And then we mentioned 1,000 other federal performers that said we would absolutely indict. So Mueller is saying we didn't take that action of indicting him for a crime because we have this policy right now in the Department of Justice that you don't indict a sitting president.
Right.
Now here's the part I'm getting to where they're dropping the ball in the media, saying, putting this graphic up where he's no determination. He said we decided not to, purposefully not to decide officially, and he had a reason for it that makes a little sense. He says, because if we accuse the president of committing a crime but we're not going to indict him, he loses out. It's unfair because he could not clear his name under the constitutional right that everyone has to a speedy trial. Okay,
So
I hope everybody followed me there.
They're actually trying to maintain his rights as an individual to a fair and speedy trial, and not just to be accused and let it hang. Right, and the reason there's that conflict is because of that Department of Justice policy.
Yes, and so whenever you see on the news, and you're probably going to see it after you've watched this, look for it, you'll see people quoting this graphic that they put up. Well, Mueller said he couldn't come to a determination. No, he didn't say he couldn't. He said he chose purposefully not to make a determination for the reason we just said, that since they can't, because of the policy, it wouldn't be right to do it, accuse, and him not be able to. So I felt that it was very important we take at least this much time on this topic to get that out there. In between some of the comments you may have to share, I will get to a couple of other things that Schiff talked about to him and got him to admit, Mueller. So that's why I'm telling everybody, if nothing else, go and watch Schiff at the beginning of the intel. You can find it on YouTube. It's only about 10 minutes, and it's so, he needs to run for president.
Well, you know, that's one of the other things that I found interesting. I mean, here you have an investigation that everybody's, oh, this is critical, this is super important to our democracy. We have to get this report out there. We need to make it public, boom, boom, boom. We're going to give everybody 5 minutes. And we're talking about complicated legal things that are full of a lot of nuance.
Yeah.
Which, of course, is a problem. We have a very complex legal system, and CNN and all these news, they want to boil it down to, oh, the little white line that we can put on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
And, the audience doesn't have time for nuance.
I'll give an example.
Yeah.
When reminded by Chairman Schiff that Mueller's report revealed that Trump and his campaign were planning their campaign strategy around the help from Russia and WikiLeaks. Mueller wrote about this in the report, people. He documented it in Volume 1. And so Chairman Schiff reminds Mueller, he says, Trump and his campaign were planning their campaign strategy around the help they were receiving from WikiLeaks and Russia. Mueller said at first, here's where he was forgetful. He goes, I wasn't aware of that. You know, I wasn't aware of that. But he wasn't remembering what he. So Schiff reminds him, it's on page 54, so everybody go and look at page 54 of Volume 1 of Mueller's report, and Schiff was right on it, and he reminded Mueller, he says, you put it there, saying that, and here it is, I'm going to read it. According to Gates, which is the deputy campaign manager, by late summer of 16, the Trump campaign was planning I'm reading from the Mueller report, was planning a press strategy, communications campaign, and message campaign message based on the release of the WikiLeaks and the help from Russia.
To be fair to him, just really quickly, he didn't individually author the entire report. He's
Right.
supervising a team of professionals who are working on different sections of the report.
Right.
He's supervising them. He's aware of the content and the general direction and what we're trying to do as far as put together a report. And I say we,
Yeah.
not
Yes.
me. And so he's not going to be
Right.
remembering every specific detail of every section because he's in a supervisory role.
Under Schiff's questioning, Mueller confirmed his investigation determined that Russia committed federal crimes in order to help Trump get elected, specifically relating to the computer crimes and WikiLeaks regarding the theft of Clinton emails. And he returned to his earlier question, and when he did, Mueller answered correctly this time. He returned to that previous question at that point and asked Mueller if his investigation confirmed that Trump and his campaign built their campaign strategy around those crimes, federal crimes, felonies, and built their campaign strategy around those crimes and stolen documents. This time, Mueller was on it, his mind was back on track, and he confirmed that was in fact true. His answer, that was in fact true, per his report. I mean, that's collusion and conspiracy.
Volume 1 showed that there was assistance to the campaign from the Russians and interference and all that. And they said, oh, well, we didn't say they were actively cooperating with each other, but they were taking the help for sure.
No. That's what I want to make clear to my audience. What there's a misnomer out there that the report of Mueller's report said that they weren't aware of it. No,
they were aware of it.
Completely cooperating with the Russians. They were aware of the help. They were building their strategy around the help from the Russians.
Yeah.
No doubt that's a false narrative that's
and
been
then
put
volume
out.
2 is about the obstruction of the
And all the
investigation
obstruction
into that.
to keep that from being exposed.
Right.
And at the time of our taping of this interview, the good news is Nadler has just announced that, and he's got the blessing from Pelosi. She signed off on the wording. This has just hit the news at the time we're taping this, that Congress is demanding the grand jury material from Israel, and they're saying to the court, we are telling you now, we're on record, this is an impeachment investigation. Now, it's not, they haven't launched articles of impeachment, but they've now, with Pelosi's blessing, they're saying we need this grand jury material because it's for the purpose of our impeachment investigation. And that's big, that they at least finally
because
used that word.
Yeah, they didn't want to use it before because they didn't want people jumping to conclusions, but now they need certain legal thresholds to be met, so that's what they've got to do.
Oh, and one more thing I wanted to say before we wrap is Senator Jackie Speer. Look her up too, if you would, after you check out Schiff. Senator Jackie Speer from California. She yielded a minute and a half at the end of her time back to Mueller, and I loved it. She had this really good presence of thought to say, Mr. Mueller, sometimes we don't see the forest for the trees. Let's give you an opportunity. What is it that you want America to take away from your report? Lying is bad. Guess what he said? That the media is dropping the ball, not letting everybody hear. It should be on a constant loop. He responds basically with that same paragraph we started with. He responded, my report is a signal, a flag to those of us who have some responsibility in this area. And when he said that, he went like this. Okay, you'll see his hand be like this to the Congress. It's like he's saying, duh. To those of us who have some responsibility in this area to exercise those responsibilities swiftly, responsibilities to act on the evidence that I've presented. Again, because he's hamstrung by that Department of Justice policy.
Right, Congress is the only one that can actually do anything about all of this investigation.
And that was his point. It doesn't matter that we might not succeed. It's the right thing to do to impeach this corrupt individual that has made a mockery of our country's values and the highest office of our land. Lying is bad. Bill Barr lied to all of us when Mueller released his report, and he told all of us that the report exonerated the president. But Mueller actually wrote in his report that it did not exonerate the president. So can you say Bill Barr is Trump's bitch? Ha 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 ha, very good, kids. Now let's look at the letter C. C is for coordination. any coordination with the Russians? Bob Mueller's report, hard as it is to read, describes in graphic detail many members of Trump's campaign who actively coordinated with many Russians who were known to be connected to Russian President Vladimir Putin. C is also for helping us spell the word collusion. Mueller's report details a lot of collusion between Trump and Russia for the purpose of helping him get elected while he was lying to all of us that he did not have any business connections with Russia. But kids, you need to know that Mueller's report describes how all through the campaign, Trump was lying about that and covering up his ongoing effort to build a Trump Tower in Moscow, in which he offered Vladimir Putin a gift of $50 million penthouse at the top of the tower. C also stands for the word corrupt. Can you say corrupt, lying piece of shit? Ha 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 ha. Very good. And the letter C can also be used to help us spell the word con artist. Can you say con artist who has to be impeached? C is also the first letter of the word, the question that all good Americans are asking. Can you imagine? Do you like to imagine, kids? Well, can you imagine how Republicans would act if Obama had been even half this corrupt and dishonest as Trump? Okay, very good. That's enough for today's ABCs, kids, but make sure you tune in tomorrow when we'll skip ahead to the big letter H, which helps us to spell the word the whole wide world is using now to describe the Republican Party. Hypocrites!
I think the media really has dropped the ball, and it's I believe because of the corporatization of media. That's
Yeah.
they're interested in profit.
That's why public
and money,
access.
and it's not about the traditional role of we're the check on the government.
Exactly, and that's
You have
why
3 branches, and then us making sure it all goes well. It's not really the case.
so public access can sometimes be a little bit of a check. Isn't that nice?
Public
But you get
access can be
free
a check
speech
because
and the truth you
People
get.
can get on public access television and talk about what they
What
want
the
to talk
media is
about.
not, what the media is dropping the ball about.
Yeah.
So keep up the great work as
Thank you,
programming
Connie.
manager over there with Davis Media, and
We'll
thank you for
try and keep getting people's shows on.
yes, and thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.